Dr. Olaniran has the rank of a minister and is the permanent representative of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to the UN Rome-based food agencies, including the FAO, the IFAD, and the World Food Programme. He completed a 2-year tenure in October 2013 as the chairman of the Committee of World Food Security, CFS. He is a former state agriculture minister in Nigeria and the former head of institutional building at the International Center for Insect Physiology and Ecology in Nairobi, Kenya. Please come on stage.
All protocol observed. I want to start on a very, very practical note. I was born into a polygamous family. That means there were many of us that were young, about the same age group. And I don't know how my mother decided that each of us should be given 2 hens and 1 cock. That was where my agriculture began. I'll cut it short. In the process, we all were running because it was a big compound. The chicken were free-ranging, and they will litter all over the place. But each of us have a day where we must sweep the compound. And we were heaping the litters at the corner. My mother went to the market one day and bought some overgrown vegetables of spinach and amaranthus. So when we removed the top, there were seeds in it. We threw it unconsciously on the litters that were there. It rained, and then we saw some little green things coming up. We were excited. My mother said, that is F4, that's how we call it, and shoko. So for the next few weeks, we won't buy from the market. We'll be harvesting here. And Yaya will take one of your chicken for lunch. I said, Mom, no way. Now, I'm telling you this story, and I want to relate it to where we found ourselves in the world. If you ask any young person now where chicken comes from, or egg, they'll tell you it's from the supermarket. How about milk? Supermarket. They've not had the feel of agriculture, nature, and where we go from there. I grew up in Kano. I was born and bred there. And over the years, I've seen a number of agricultural development and that eventually collapsed because of externalities. The groundnut pyramids in Kano, unfortunately, were for transportation to Lagos and from Lagos to different parts of Europe. It was still working. The same thing about the cotton industry. Bales and bales of it produced by smallholder farmers. In fact, then we used to call them peasant farmers. Again, a policy came which the government accepted and wiped all that out. What I would have loved to see and what I'm looking forward to see, and which Nigeria is doing now, is to move away from primary produce for export into value addition and making sure that value chain works. I don't want to dwell too much on the problem of infrastructure, electricity, and so on and so forth. However, if we have to really transform our lives, we have to make sure that those things are available. If light is not available, it's not only in agriculture, even the people, artisans cannot do their work. The person who will sew my suit or my babariga will not have electricity to do it. And if you calculate the amount of lost hours and lost revenues, they are staggering. Put that alongside of what we will gain if we do our mathematics correctly. If we know what we want and we are prepared to get it right and get it done. Personally, I'm very disturbed, and it's not for selfish reason. I'm very disturbed that oil is being found left, right, and center. It's not because I want to protect Nigeria. No. It's because we probably don't have the technology to do it by ourselves. We're going to import the technology, and we're going to pay through our nose. Machinery, expertise, name it. And of course, there is the inherent corruption of not knowing how much crude is being taken out. So, where does that leave us? And that is why I enjoyed the last conversation. We were being honest with ourselves, picking out the loopholes. We could throw up our hands and say, oh, there's too much corruption, there's bad governance, there's this, there's that. Yes. But there must be a minimum of level of poverty that all of us, as human beings, should feel uncomfortable with. And I think that is the bottom line. If we look at it, for instance, everybody's worried that Africa's population is just rising. Why wouldn't it? By 6:37, maximum 8 o'clock, it is dark. And there's no television, no nothing, because there's no electricity to make the man sit down and watch television or do his work. He goes to bed. Very vibrant, productive wife. And you say they won't have too many children. Come on. Let's stop it. They will. And they are. And what does that tell you and me? Europe is not as far to Africa as we think. In spite of the dangers that they go through in the Sahara Desert, I've heard horrible stories, yet people are still coming. If the environment is right, and I'm not saying that government of any country should go and give them electricity anyhow. There are many options now that we can use. There's the industrial package for factories. There could be packages for domestic use, which are easy. Wind, solar, and so on. You know why I will not lose hope? I can't forget. As a small boy in primary school, I normally lie down with a clay lamp that you put palm oil in, and that is the source of light I will use to do my homework. Yeah, my own children now had electricity, even though erratic, but I'm also looking forward to when we'll get to a stage where that will be history too. But everybody needs to come on board. Everybody needs to be part and parcel of this. Now, for the sake of repetition, majority of African population lives in rural areas, between 65 and 80, depending on which country. Most of them are still feeding the people in the cities, inefficient as they may be. What can be done to intensify their productivity where they are? Small in technology, small machines, the little machines that will make them plant the right population in the right piece of land. That is the number one source of loss of yield. When your plant population is inadequate, you have shortchanged yourself by so much percent. Secondly, the smallholder farmer, everybody is saying it, but do we really mean it? That, yeah, they will be the source of the next generation of farmers. If we mean it, everything should be done to make them more efficient, more productive, and also add value to what they are producing. We have to. Otherwise, we will mount it for the next 20 years again, and it will be another millennium, whatever. It's not good. Nigeria is treating agriculture as a business. Initially, there was a lot of skepticism. But if you look at the output that we are having, it is very encouraging. One, statistics was an issue. For many decades, nobody knew the actual number of farmers that we have. It was all guesswork. In the last 2-3 years, effort has been made to get the biometrics of every farmer, depending on where they are in the country. And we've got about 6.4 million registered. There is the hope that at the end of this year, it will go to about 13 million. But that brings us to something very important. Nigeria used to be a net importer of rice, of wheat, of soya, sugar, and we're spending as much as $13 billion annually. That amount has been reduced by $13 billion. It has been reduced by $5 billion. And this money has gone into government providing the enabling environment, bringing in some private sector people to look at it, at the same time encouraging the smallholder farmers. The space is available in Nigeria for the small, medium, and a few large farms. One thing I can assure you is that the people are ready to stand for their rights when it comes to land. Their land is their life. And so let's hope that we'll get more and more understanding of the situation on hand. For instance, part of the problem we've always been grappling with is the fact that land is an issue. When I was privileged to chair the CFS, by multi-stakeholder negotiation and discussions, we were able to get the voluntary guideline on land tenure, fisheries, and forests agreed to by all nations. The proviso is this. It's a global framework. The application will be at local level, country, village level. What is still lacking is the inability of most governments to work on it, to let it be workable. But there, we will need the CFS model of doing things, whereby it has to be multi-stakeholder system, civil society, private sector, academia, government, local government, and so on. And you can see the vibrancy of what can come. The second thing that is happening right now has to do with investment in agriculture. Again, it's not a one-size-fits-all. We have to look across the board and get the best for each occasion. Finally, let me say this with all sense of commitment. Nigeria has decided to work on youth employment in agriculture for the youths. It's going to cost government a lot of money. But I think what is more important is the campaign that is going on now to change the mindset of people, to say that agriculture is not for poor people, agriculture is not a derogatory profession. We were giving 2% of people studying agriculture in Africa, 2% in Europe. But we must not forget the absolute number. 2% of almost 1 billion is more than 2% of 400 million. So it depends on what you're looking at. And when it comes to manpower, Nigeria is there. The manpower is there. The proper use of it is what we have to organize. And finally, from the Atlantic Ocean to Maiduguri, you have all the ecological zone that you will need. So I am tired of reminding ourselves that there's huge potential. Let's convert these potentials into reality. But we can only do it successfully if we just don't use acronyms. Family farming, zero hunger, and all that. Let us look at the nitty-gritty of what will work. It may take time, but if we start it from the grassroots, it will succeed. If there's honesty of purpose and everybody who needs to be part and parcel of it sees it as a common objective, we have a responsibility. We cannot continue to produce children that will have low IQs. We cannot continue to see malnourished children, women that are so hardworking, they are not getting what they rightly deserve. And I think there should be some compassion on all of us to get this done. Thank you, and God bless.